All right, folks, it's time for a push day. I'm gonna take you through a whole thing, chest, shoulders, triceps on this EVOLPOW P3A Power Rack. It's got everything you need. We've got a bench, rack, bumper plates, cables. We're gonna hit everything here. As we go through everything, I'm gonna have the workout listed in the description, so if you wanna copy that and use it, I'm gonna go through why we're hitting the various exercises, why we're doing these rep ranges and everything there. So the goal here is for building muscle hypertrophy. So we're starting out, as you can see, with the bench press, doing the flat bench press. And after you do all of your warm-ups, we're gonna be doing 2 sets. And that's 2 working sets. So when I'm saying 2 sets, I'm talking about working sets after warm-ups. So we're gonna be hitting 10 to 12 reps on the first set and then 9 to 12 on the second, because ideally we're pushing to failure or close to it with 1 to 2 reps in reserve. And that's the easiest way to gauge your progress and know if you're progressing, because progressive overload is what it takes to build those muscles. So if you were only able to get 10, then chances are you probably won't hit 10 again. That's why we move it down to 9 to 12 reps. We're gonna do 2 sets of that, and then we're gonna move on to dips. Same thing, we're gonna do 2 working sets, and then we're gonna move on to cable flies, 2 working sets of that, and then we're gonna do a superset of some lateral raises and tricep press downs. Now, it doesn't sound like a whole lot of volume for your chest, but in my workout programs, I shoot for 10 to 20 working sets per major muscle group. So for the chest, that's working sets. So if we're doing 2 sets of bench, 2 sets of dips, 2 sets of flies, that's 6 sets, but we're doing it twice a week. This is a 6-day split. So we're doing legs, push, pull, legs, push, pull. So that's 12 hard sets at the beginning of your program. And you're probably gonna be sore when you first start doing it if you haven't been working out already, but that's okay. You wanna be a little sore, but you don't wanna be so sore that you're not recovered by your next session 3 days later or 4 days later, depending on if it's the second round and you do a rest day. So we have 12 hard sets, and after you do it for a few weeks, you get used to it. We can throw an extra set of bench in there at the end. So now we go from 12 hard sets to 14 because it's an extra set on both workouts for the week. Then you could throw an extra set of dips in there. So now we go from 14 to 16. And then once you get used to that, you could throw in another set of flies. So now we're up to 18 sets. And the whole idea is you progress through this 2 to 3 months of exercising, making it harder and harder, more volume. So you get to a point where you need to deload, where you take a week of lower volume training, let your muscles and joints heal because you've been pushing hard, and then you start over again with those 2, 2, and 2 sets for each of the workouts, but you're gonna start at a higher weight than you did the first time. You're gonna start building up just like before, and that's what it takes, slowly build muscle over time. So when we're doing this, first thing is this has safety rails. So please, use these heavy-duty safety rails. Especially if you're working out by yourself, there is no reason for you to be dropping the bar on yourself if you fail, because if you're going to failure, if you're using good technique, chances are you aren't gonna get hurt, especially when you're doing a 10 to 12 rep max. It's just gonna be your muscles giving out and finally you can't get it. Set it down on your chest on the bars, roll it down, sit up, take the weights off, put it back on the rack, and you're good to go, as opposed to dropping it on you and then getting it off. And with a rack like this, it's not as easy to just stand up and get it off the end of the bench because the rack's in the way, or doing this and letting weights fly off and bars flying everywhere. The rails solve that problem, so just use them. And it's important to take your ego out of the equation with all of your lifts. So what we want to focus on is a slow eccentric. So slow on the way down and controlled, pause on your chest and push back up faster. Slow on the way down, pause and push back up. You don't want to be going like this, bouncing it off your chest, letting your butt come off the bench, trying to turn it into a decline bench to make it easier. Keep the form the same. If you can't get another rep with good form, you failed. And then moving on to the dips, it's the same thing. Dips is targeting more of the lower chest. Ideally, you want to not be so much upright, but bent over a little bit, so you're pushing as if you were doing a decline bench press, all the way down, push back up. And if you can't do full dips yet, you could go halfway down and push up until you get stronger, but ideally you want to go down as far as you can, stretch all the way, push yourself back up. You don't want to, same thing as before, we don't want to push through them really quick. You want to have good control. And if you still can't do a whole lot, you can always stack up a couple weights, jump up on it and do really slow negatives, because you're still getting a lot of work done on the eccentric part of the lift. And then you step off, jump up again and do really slow negatives. And over time, that'll help you to build up the strength to start doing the full reps on the dips. And if you get to the point where you can do 10 to 15 reps on your dips, well, now you can start adding weight. I have a weight belt that I use that you can strap in. I'll have it linked in the description if you want to check that out. But you can add weight and start doing the same thing. But just remember, just because you add weight doesn't mean you start speeding through the reps, because it's harder. Still slow, controlled eccentric and push up. And the same thing with these dips, we're shooting for 10 to 12 reps. With hypertrophy, we're trying to keep the muscles under tension for 45 to 60 seconds. So that really slow controlled is what's gonna help you do that. You could do the same thing with 5 reps, but the weight would be a lot heavier. You're gonna be doing super slow reps and you're just more likely to get injured the higher the weight is. So we're trying to get the most we can out of the least amount of weight. So then moving on to the cable flies. Now with this, we're gonna shoot for 12 to 15 reps. This is an exercise that you can get a lot out of with lighter weight. I see guys in the gym all the time just going like this really fast. It's the same thing. We wanna focus on contracting the muscle and controlling the weight. So just like with the bench press, you wanna put your shoulder blades back so that you're engaging your chest. I have videos talking about how to do the bench press. I'll link to help you, but it's the same thing with just about every chest exercise. So with the flies, we don't want to just be like this with the back rounded. You want to have your shoulder blades back and keep them there so that as you're pulling forward, you're using your chest even more and not just using the front of your delts to push that weight around. You want to keep the shoulder blades back and really squeeze with the chest. Slow, controlled, stretch as far as you can, and then pull back forward. And you can do different variations of this. You can do low to high if you want to try to hit the upper part of your chest more. You can do high to low. I typically like to go straight out from the rack, just put 1 foot forward, keep my shoulder blades back, and do it that way. But whatever works for you, whatever you're trying to target, you can do variations of that. And the same with the bench press. You can do incline bench. Maybe you want to go back and forth, do flat bench one day. Second workout of the week, do incline bench press. Go back and forth, help you have some variety. And finally, we're gonna move on to a superset, and that's one of the things I love about having a rack like this at home is you don't have to wait on anyone. There's so many times I go to the gym, I might wanna do like some dumbbell lateral raises and then go do tricep cable press downs. I go to do my dumbbell raises, I go over, someone's on the cable rack now. So then it doesn't work, you gotta wait for people. Nothing wrong with that. We're all using the gym. We need to be considerate of each other. And if I leave, I can't expect someone to not use equipment. But when you're at home, that's not a worry. You can do stuff on your time as fast as you want, and your workouts tend to go quicker because you don't have to wait on anyone. So with the lateral raises, same thing, controlled. It does not take a lot of weight. I like to put my hand on the rack here and lean out a little bit. It's a little bit harder to cheat and swing, and I can bring the weight up under control. Same thing, we want to bring it up, pause at the top, and then slowly let it down. Bring it up, control it on the way down. And then we're gonna move to the tricep press downs, and same thing. You don't wanna be there over the weight like this, using your chest and using momentum. I see guys doing that, putting a full weight stack and trying to go like this. We wanna focus on hitting those triceps. So we're gonna get back straight, shoulder blades back, just like when we're doing the chest stuff, and push down. Slow on the way up, and then push down. Focusing on the triceps, and you'll start feeling the burn. It does not take a lot of weight to really engage your triceps on this. So focus on the exercise, on what you want to hit. Don't ego lift, because no one really cares except you how much you're lifting. And it does not take a lot of weight to be able to get big muscles. Like, I'm only doing 185 for sets of 10 to 12 today. And a lot of people I see at the gym are benching 250, 270 for the same amount of reps, but they're bouncing it off their chest. I've hurt my shoulder so many times doing that, and when I took my ego out, I went down to like 135, started doing these slow, controlled, paused reps. I feel my chest a lot more, I get way more out of it, my muscles are growing, and I'm not getting injured, so it's the best of all things. With that, we're gonna do 4 sets of the lateral raises, and then 3 sets of the tricep press down. So we're gonna start with the lateral raises. After we do the last set of tricep press downs in the superset, we're gonna do 1 more lateral raise. And that's because we've already done a lot of tricep activation with the bench press, with the dips. So we're just doing a little bit more isolation work with those tricep press downs. But we wanna do a little more with the shoulders because we've already hit the front of the shoulder a lot, the front of the delt with bench press. A lot of people's delts are overdeveloped, especially if you're bench pressing like this and not with your shoulder blades back. And then we've done dips, same thing. You're using your shoulders as well there too, a little bit on these cable flies. So now we don't really need to do any overhead pressing because that's still hitting the front head of the delt. The side delt is what needs to be worked, and that's what's gonna make your shoulders stick out even more. So that's why we're focusing on these lateral raises. Doesn't take a lot of weight to get it done. And then also the rear delt we're gonna hit on our back day, which is gonna be coming later, so stay tuned for that. But that is the entire workout. So we have 5 different exercises: first bench press, then dips, cable flies, and then that superset of lateral raises and tricep press downs. And you can get through this really quick. Just focus on slow, controlled reps. Really engage the muscle, make sure you're feeling it, and you're gonna make progress. Make sure you're eating at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, because you can do all you want here, but if you're not eating enough, you're not gonna build your muscles. And you need an adequate amount of calories to do that. Once I really got my diet in check and got consistent with a training program like this is when I really started to see a huge difference. I've gained about 25 pounds over the last 4 years, pretty much all muscle, and it has been a crazy transformation. I can eat a whole lot more now, I can lift a lot more, and I actually know what I'm doing in the gym. So if you have any questions about what we're doing, why we're doing, there's lots of exercise options you can do aside from what we're doing here, and I'll list those in the description and answer your questions in the comment section if you have any. But please hit that like button if this was helpful, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Don't forget, at Camber Fitness on Instagram is where I post my lifts and what's going on with life as well. And I'll see y'all soon.